Hello again, you're listening to Great Work, about finding serenity and success doing work that matters to you and to the world, with me, Adam Sandel. I'm still experimenting with a new format here, a few shorter things instead of one longer one, and I've got 4 things for you this time. First, worrying you've screwed something up. Secondly, getting more done by working less hard. This is a summary of something from back when this was all new and most of you weren't here. Thirdly, Work Bullshit Corner, a new feature. And finally, a book recommendation, Daily Rituals. So, worrying you've screwed something up. Many a restless night I have spent worrying that I got something wrong for a patient or for a client. It is a horrible feeling, and those who care about their work are susceptible to it. While there's something about these worries that may be unavoidable from time to time, I do think they are manageable. The answer is not to bury your head in the sand, not to let the worry smoulder, but to act promptly. What does act mean? Well, for me, that may mean calling a patient to see how they're doing. They're usually delighted that I was interested, and perhaps giving them some advice that I should have given them earlier. Or running something past someone with more expertise than me, especially useful for those prone to unfounded worries, and you often learn something. Or heading into the hospital in the middle of the night to review a patient I've admitted. Or speaking to a colleague with whom I'm worrying I may have come across wrong. The point is, the quicker you act, the easier it is to defuse, and the better you'll sleep. I think we're inclined to avoid doing whatever it is we need to do, to bury our heads in the sand instead. But the rewards of doing something about it are usually immediate. And wonderfully, few screw-ups actually have awful consequences. And just to underline that this was about worrying that you may have screwed something up, in the future we'll look at how to manage those situations where something serious has gone wrong, as will happen to even the most conscientious of people who've been doing work that matters for long enough. Why you'll get more done by working less hard. So, as I said, many of you weren't around for my earliest emails and podcasts, and for those who missed it, here is a short summary of one of my very first topics. How much you get done and how well you do it increases when you work harder and longer, obviously, but only up to a point, also obviously. Beyond that optimum, by working harder or working longer or both, you're going to get less done and you will do it less well. We are, most of us, working harder and longer than that optimum. There is lots of evidence that this is so. And that means that you can truly get more done and do it better by being easier on yourself, so long as you go about it in the right way. For example, people are often surprised to find that being more systematic about taking regular, restful breaks immediately results in them working better and more efficiently. Again, lots of evidence for this. In the full article and podcast, I provide 8 suggestions for how you can get more done by working less hard. If you'd like to read or listen to that, I'll try and put a link in the podcast notes if I can figure out how to do that, or just Google Adam Sandel Get More Done, the kind of thing that my mother used to say to me. And I want to acknowledge that my own appreciation and understanding of this, I think, crucial point has been heavily influenced by writer Alex Soojung Kim Pang, whose wonderful book, Rest, published in 2016, has tangibly improved my life. Highly recommended. Work Bullshit Corner. Great Work focuses on practical advice that actually works, based, wherever possible, on solid science. But it's not going to have escaped your attention that there is an awful lot of pseudoscience about work, working life, and teams. I think it's propagated by people who mean well, but if advice isn't going to work, all it does is leave people feeling that there's no point trying to improve their working lives. So here in Work Bullshit Corner, we're going to have an occasional look at dubious work-related advice. And this week we're going to start with the Enneagram, that's E-N-N-E-A-gram, the Enneagram of personality. Heard of it before? No, nor until recently had I. But it turns out it's being widely promoted in the shadier corners of seminars, conferences, and writing on work and management as something that helps us understand each other and help us work better in teams. The claim is that there are 9 personality types, each with things like an ego fixation, a basic fear, a virtue, and a stress point. Grand language. These 9 personality types are interconnected, and that's shown with a mystical-looking star-containing circle diagram with what are called triads and wings. The Enneagram claims ancient roots, and its modern development was tied up with a school for cosmic consciousness raising. If you've had enough of my sniffy tone but want to know more about the Enneagram, do have a look at the Wikipedia article. The Enneagram lives in a world apart from science. A recent systematic review, the link is in the email version of this podcast, concluded that, and I quote, Enneagram theory remains largely untested. And perhaps more problematically, Enneagrams bear no relation to the now pretty well-established 5-factor model of personality. That is the best and most scientific account of personality differences that we have. So my verdict, this is indeed bullshit, at least until proven otherwise, which seems pretty unlikely. And yet, it seems to me that there is a problem with sniffily dismissing things like the Enneagram. Like the better-known and widely used Myers-Briggs type indicator, which also has serious problems, some people seem to find it helpful, genuinely so. And as the Enneagram Systematic Review itself noted, the overall purpose of the Enneagram is not just the identification of one's type, but, and I'm quoting, compassionate self-awareness that promotes growth. So what I'm about to say sits a little uncomfortably with me, but I increasingly wonder whether there may be some benefit, even in some bullshit theories of psychology or working life, if they encourage people and teams to think a bit about who they are and how they work. If we're going to do that, though, why add the distraction of pseudoscience? Thinking about who you are at work and how that impacts your working life, which I've written about here previously, is an invaluable thing to do, and at the heart of what I'd like to think of as the great work philosophy. And you don't need an Enneagram to do that. Book recommendation for you, Daily Rituals, How Artists Work by Mason Curry. This is a lovely collection of short vignettes of the working lives of creative people you've heard of. Writers, filmmakers, composers, scientists, philosophers, people like that. It's readable and an insight into how people got their stuff done. Did you know that Jane Austen started her days by playing the piano? Or that Mark Twain would read his day's work out to his family after dinner each evening? Realising he'd not written enough about women, Curry wrote a second volume called Daily Rituals, Women at Work, which I think is at least as good as the first. Before you go, I'd love to know what you think about this new format, several shorter things instead of one longer thing. Or is there too much here now? Let me know what you think. Email me at adam@adamsandel.com. That's adam@adamsandell.com. If you're getting this via a podcast app or YouTube, do sign up for the email list at www.adamsandel.com. That way you'll get the podcasts emailed to you every couple of weeks, embedded in an email you can read if you prefer. And sometimes there's a little more in the emails too, including links to stuff I refer to. If you found anything useful here, it would mean the world to me if you could let others know about it and encourage them to sign up. And that's it for this time. Thank you so much for listening.